morning, and thank you for coming to our first workshop. We're going to be having a interesting payments discussion and the evolution of this matter coming in the years ahead and centuries ahead, perhaps, with Michael Charalambides from EcommPay and Dmitriy Zaretskiy from IQ
Good morning.
Yes, half of the people are from EcommPay and from IQ Options, so, so it's good.
It's like a closed loop seminar.
You have a comfortable atmosphere to start with.
Yes, we're going to talk about confidential things now because it's just internal company information. Yeah.
All right, so guys, let's start off with how the payment sector of the industry has been evolving over the past quarters since the last Finance Magnates London summit.
Well, yeah, things keep changing at a rapid pace lately. I mean, yes, we do still have traditional means of payments in the industry like Visa and MasterCard and credit cards. And at EcommPay, yes, we do use all of these means to give them to financial instruments for executing payments and getting processing through. But now we've got, I mean, we're actually literally on the last month before, you know, the good news, which is Christmas, and the bad news, which is PSD2. So we're looking at actually the PSD2 lingering in January and banks starting to enforce it. And this is, I don't know how many companies are ready for that, but okay, we've been working on it for like years getting ready for PSD2. But most of the banks and most of the other providers, which are third party, they're not really ready for PSD2. I don't know if any of you had any experience with this yet, but PSD2 has three main pillars. I'm not going to go over those now because obviously it's a big hot topic. Everybody's talking about PSD2, and I'm just going to bore everyone out.
It's a second. I would have to say that maybe it's better if you
really okay. All right. Well, PSD2 basically it's based on trying to verify the first and most important parameter is to trying to physically verify the payment of the person behind it. So there's going to be a new means of verification which goes beyond 3D secure, where actually a person has to verify his physical presence and ownership of the payment. And the second part, which is the most important part, is the exchange of APIs. So it's the information that you're going to be able to scrape off from any financial institution in order to facilitate payments through a third-party provider. And the third most important part is that the third payment party providers are going to have, or anybody which is related to third payment party providers, is going to have to do verification of KYC, due diligence, and probably do some minor regulation, monitoring, and reporting. So these are the main pillars of PSD2. You didn't get it, huh?
Yes, because the SMS for me is perfect because now I live in US and they don't use this 3D Secure, which is like a brilliant technology.
Yes.
So did I understand you correctly? It's they going to get rid of it, or we're going to enhance it with documents? I hate documents. It's 20th century, not 21st century.
It's unbelievable. Documents are a killer, and actually the regulators are still in love with it, and the regulators are lagging behind. Hence why they're not even embracing the cryptocurrencies or anything else related. But in PSD2, things should be more automated, and we're looking at having solutions where people are verified by smart apps, by mobile applications, by maybe QR scanners, which are identified back to a unique address on their mobile phone. So things are becoming more unique. I think you already at IQ Options, you're already enforcing most of these things and you're implementing 3D Secure at the moment, but it's going to become even more complicated for your traders. So it's actually safeguarding companies like you guys, which are in the fintech industry, in terms of having more trades from people that you know, with more security and less chargebacks and problems that you might encounter in the future. But
and less trades from people we don't know, right?
Less trades from people that you don't want to have them. But in the US, actually, it's a very good point that you did, because in the US, they're hardly using they're still on the EMV in terms of card payments. They don't even use the PIN pads. Do you actually use a PIN payment for the US now? Where you go into shops?
Sometimes.
They start introducing it this year. So, I mean, the US are still using their own agenda. But tell us what you're doing now in the US, since you're mentioning that to begin with.
I'm just enjoying my life.
Well, you didn't invite me over there, so obviously I'm wasting my time in Cyprus. Well, the point is now, though, in the US, they might be lagging behind in terms of EMV payments or new facilities of PSD2, because PSD2 is a directive enforced by the European Commission for the European countries. It doesn't necessarily affect the US companies, but in the US they have done something else. They're regulating something new in New York, right? Are you aware of it at the moment? They're regulating cryptocurrencies.
Everything. We're regulating everything
Okay,
now,
all
in
right.
New York and everything.
All right.
So I'm not
Okay.
over everything.
Let's go back. Okay, let me get the conversation to cryptos then. So now into the cryptos industry. Okay, we're looking at a lot of people talking about cryptocurrencies. What is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? What is all of these spin-offs that they're doing?
What is OTN?
What is Bitcoin Cash? Why is it there? Well, actually, you might even be looking at the Silk Road if you're starting to talk that way.
No. OTN is the best among these. We just launched the cryptocurrency.
Okay, well, we might as well hear about that if you want to expand onto that one as well. But in the US at the moment, they're actually starting to regulate cryptos. It is the first state that introduced the BIT license, which is the license which is under the financial authorities of the US, in New York specifically, where they actually accept regulation of cryptos and Bitcoins. But does that mean necessarily that it puts Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies on the front stage as an alternative to electronic payments and fiat money? Well, in short, I'm going to expand on it later on, hopefully through the conversation. I would say no. It doesn't put cryptos and Bitcoins on the first line of cryptocurrencies or replacing fiat payments. What is your opinion about this? How do you see cryptocurrencies being used?
I think cryptocurrencies is designed trustless, so it doesn't require a lot of regulation actually. So to make secure payments, right? And this BIT license you mentioned, it's a pain in the ass. I'm telling you, it's the hardest license to get. For example, cryptocurrency exchange in US. So if you want an exchange, you can get the MTL license everywhere, and you need to get a BIT license in New York, which is very hard to get. So trying to regulate will actually make it harder for businesses to work. So
you seem to be knowing a lot about the US licensing. What's going on?
yeah, we're applying for MTL license to make simple apps for buying cryptos in US.
So much for a good time in the US then, huh?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
All right. So and what is the new product that you're looking into implementing in cryptocurrencies over there in the US?
It's actually exchange which everyone is developing in MetaTraders now, but we are doing it in IQ in our platform, and a simple application for purchasing cryptos.
Okay, so you're going to be working as an exchangery for cryptos,
The first priority is the simple app, the wallet.
which is going to be facilitating multiple cryptos or just one?
Yeah,
crypto?
multiple cryptos.
Okay.
Yes. So paying with bitcoins, as you mentioned it, and since we're talking about payments, is also a hurdle, right? Because the transaction goes, 3 days ago it went several hours. It was kind of attack. But imagine you come into restaurant and want to pay with Bitcoin, and you have to pay in advance before you finish.
Yeah.
And if it stuck in the network, you have to stay in the restaurant because we don't trust, this transaction.
It's actually a slower transaction than what you do with a
when you eat it, right?
Yeah.
So and if you just jump for coffee, and it's even if it's good time in 10 minutes transaction, it's impossible. But for Bitcoin, you can pay for your apartment, house, and something else, which doesn't require fast transaction time. And what we see in our trading experience, and we implement in what you actually need to do is we implement in the
don't expose me on stage.
Bitcoin acquirement. So we implement the blockchain monitors, let's say, and we put addresses on the deposit pages, so people can just send bitcoins to those addresses, and the money will appear at our trading deposit, trading cash. So we see that a lot of people store value, and more people storing value in cryptocurrencies, and they change from one to another in order to get the maximum performance of the money, and that's this industry needs to look at. And since it's your big vertical, right? For different verticals, it can be hard, but for this vertical, I think you should move into this space in terms of giving easy access for companies like ours for acquiring Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we going to launch it, and we see a strong demand, and the community of people who holding cryptos are growing.
It's growing day by day, but we can safely say that right now cryptocurrencies are not exactly currencies because of the time problem. So how do we, is there a way to solve this?
Well, I would say the key word that Dmitry just used is the word that they actually store the cryptos for
Value
exchange. They store it for change, to be changed later on into something else and actually capitalize on the value that they initially bought it. So it doesn't necessarily mean, the way at least we see it in terms of payments and discussing this thing with the regulators in throughout Europe, that we actually have licenses in. I mean, as EcommPay, we have licenses in more than 3 jurisdictions at the moment, and we're growing. You're looking at a license which is actually touching the frontiers of banking at the moment that we have. And we're trying to find ways of fostering this request that Forex, binary option trading companies or exchangeries have. It's not that simple, though, because when you see about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins, it's not that people are actually buying it in order to buy later on something which is a physical product, which unfortunately, because of this is where the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin has been slandered in terms that it's used as a product which is used for money laundering or for drugs purchasing and stuff like this. To be honest, I mean, what, an ATM down the street, if you go and get cash out of an ATM and you go and buy drugs, that is not facilitating money laundering or drugs or something wrong. It still is. It's just that because it's something new, it's something that was not embraced by the banks, which that is where I put a small asterisk. It has not been embraced by the big banking institutions. So the reason it was created to be decentralized, and it was created to be instant, and it was created to be P2P and cutting out the middleman. I mean, what am I? Look at me. I'm sitting in the middle of you two guys.
You are the baddest.
Well, look.
You are the middleman.
It is. I mean, good.
We love you. It's a good service EcommPay provides.
Yeah, so it's more like a marriage. But
yeah, you have to be, anyway, if you're not satisfied, you have to stay, right? No, we're satisfied with EcommPay. We're satisfied completely with my wife and with EcommPay. I'm in good marriage.
Dude, leave our marriage issues aside, that. All right. Now, the point is, though, it's the middleman.
That the wife isn't here.
Yeah, I mean, after some nautical miles, it doesn't count if you're married. So anyway, the point is, when you're the middleman, whether it's a bank, whether it's a financial institution, what does it mean? If Dmitry wants to transfer money to you, it means that it has to go through a facilitated regulated entity, which is me. So during that process of transition of money from him to you, it falls into the gap into me. I get a small commission and give it to you. Now, the Bitcoin was meant to be a direct transaction between you two guys without the middleman, which is a regulated entity. Well, unfortunately, the Bitcoin people and the crypto people on their own, they made this happen. Again, they repeated this thing through the exchangeries. As Dmitry very correctly said, you want to go down the road in New York and have a coffee, you cannot actually pay with Bitcoin because it's going to take ages to transfer it from one person to another. But through an exchangery, which pre-purchases Bitcoins, you can do it, and he pays in advance, and he's waiting to get it later on from the system. So again, you do have a middleman coming in the middle. So this is where they're preparing the road for something that possibly nobody wants to accept, including the people behind the creation of Bitcoin. I mean, the Bitcoin was created by IT guys. It wasn't just created by one Japanese guy that they're saying. It was just obviously you all know it, that it was just a nickname that they used as a group to do it. But at the end of the day, they made it to be changed directly. But now it seems like that's not going to be the solution. So we're stepping in and trying to find a way, as you correctly said, to facilitate trades or exchange of Bitcoins. But it's not that simple again.
So what about you mentioned that the entity needs to pre-purchase Bitcoins. What about the risks of the value of the Bitcoins?
That is actually the key question, and that is what we were discussing with Dmitry a while ago. At the end of the day, the Bitcoin is not really considered to be, as I said in the beginning, a replacement of fiat money. It's considered to be more as a trading instrument. That's why you guys more embraced it. People come in and they actually bid or buy the Bitcoin based on its value to sell out later on, either into something else, which is a reinvestment, or to sell out and get fiat money, which is cash or currency, physical fiat currency. So again, it's not a means to an end. It's a means to another means. So
Right.
it looks like it's being used more as a trading instrument rather than a means of payment. I don't know. How do you see that? How do
People
you see
don't
that?
want to spend something which is growing, right?
It's a
So
deflationary
everyone,
currency.
yeah, if you bought Bitcoin, you don't want to spend it, and it's a pity to look at the projects who it's like you said, a way ahead of its time. The projects who want to like issue cards for paying Bitcoin. No one wants to spend Bitcoin. Believe me, it's it's something you need to store, and especially OTNs. Yes.
So talk to us about OTN.
Thank you.
You seem you're in love with it. I had to do it, guys. I didn't want to put you straight into the cake, but go on. now you got me warm. Okay.
OTN, yeah, we launched the cryptocurrency. It's a token, and we allow traders to pay for commissions.
So what does OTN stand for?
Open Trading Network, so decentralized network to exchange, and probably you covered it right in Forex Magnates.
Yeah, we did.
Amazing jobs you're doing in Forex Magnates. Thank you. I'm reading it every day.
You're most welcome. But
Okay, I'm gonna get off the stage now.
What I wanted to ask you is who's right now transacting in this currency? Like,
No, the network itself is not launched yet.
I see
It's
that the
been
value
developed.
has been growing.
Yes, it costs $53 per token now. We started at $1, and we actually have its mining mechanism within. And I think a lot of brokerage will follow our path, but as usual, it takes more time to follow and to invent. So yes, we launched this internal like utility token where you can use for paying the transactions, paying the commissions for purchasing cryptos, for example, or purchasing CFDs later on. So you want to have it if you want to trade, and we give it out for free now. If you trade and pay for commission, we give out a lot of tokens. So later on, you can use these tokens to pay for another trades. Or when we launch this simple app, you can purchase a Bitcoin using these OTN tokens. So you will pay zero commissions since you have it. So, and it's like a snowball. People get more tokens, and it's harder to get them. The harder them to get, the more it costs. So it's a little bit of tricks, cryptocurrency, but
so
we want to be in the market.
It's a classical demand increases the pricing, basically. And the
Yes.
market demand increases the pricing.
Market demand increasing the pricing, and the issuance, every week issuance of a new tokens is lower, and so it's decreasing of a new tokens coming out. So the value is increasing. That's how we.
How many people are we looking at the moment using this through your platform?
It's a lot. Like 90,000 people get their tokens already.
And
We have big numbers of traders, small traders, medium traders in IQ. So it's 100,000 of people already having tokens.
And which jurisdictions do you see embracing this?
Actually, it's a good question. Yeah, Cyprus is not very welcoming. The crypto, they're very scared. So London, actually, UK is more open for crypto exchanges at the moment. Although FCA just issued warning regarding the volatility of cryptos. So we're looking at the Switzerland mostly for non-profit OTN foundation. We opened there, but no, not the Cyprus probably will be the leading because they're too scared. I think a lot of new jurisdictions will
You're
come
talking more
out.
about regulation now, right?
Yeah, we're talking about
What
where
about
the
traders?
structure.
Where do the traders mostly come from for this?
It's
product?
from everywhere. People who jump in, people who want to earn money, and the broker. You have people who want to earn money. If they see the growing token, they want to buy it. They want to get it. So that's how it works.
How do you see this spreading in the US?
US is complicated. We don't have traders in US, right?
Yes,
so
Important disclosure.
yes. So
Asia is Asia embracing it as well? I mean, China also issued a ban as well on cryptos now.
we don't have a lot of Chinese clients.
You know, at the end of the day, though, there's a saying that whatever China bans, just go and buy it because it looks like there's more demand and prices keep going up when Chinese actually ban something. So I don't know, how do you see the Asian market in terms of growing? So you're looking at more centralized Europe for this product then?
No, we global. So we don't look at particular. Actually, the good thing about our utility token, it can be purchased for within US on some exchanges, which is
Okay.
available in US. So it's like freely. If I give you the token, I don't control how you use it. You can sell it to US person. You can sell it to Chinese person if you travel a lot.
Okay. So
You can use it for pay for something if you travel enough nautical miles. If you know what I mean.
Okay. All right. So you don't have basically KYC on these guys.
We don't, since it's token. If someone's want to use this token with the platform, the guy needs to open a proper account and make a KYC. And
okay, it sounds like an interesting spin-off. It's something that it's obviously going to challenge the market. But you know, going back to the issue of cryptos, I'm not sure how you people see it in terms of as a payments tool, or whether it's going to be as an investment. I mean, did any of you guys actually make serious life-changing money, or do you know a lot of people that made serious life-changing money in terms of just having and owning a cryptocurrency and using it as a way of purchasing things? Does anybody know someone? Does anybody have such stories?
I'm going to buy a Bitcoin. I'm just going to sit on it for 10 years.
Where, one question: where would you buy it? Where? What?
So Coinbase.
Coinbase in UK, right? They have.
It was recommended by one of my colleagues.
Yeah.
He recommended that to me, and I think with Bitcoin, because of the volatility, because of the uncertainty around regulation, you want to go for as much third-party validation as possible. So, you know, that for me was good enough to sort of use Coinbase to purchase a Bitcoin or whatever.
It's
Use it as an investment.
It's a good choice.
It's an investment tool. You see, again, it's not a means of payment to buy a house or a car or something else.
Yeah.
It's not replacing his fiat money at the end of the day.
Yes, but when you got, for example, you invest £10,000, and when it will go to £100,000, and you decide to sell, maybe you will use it for purchasing a car, and in 10 years, I'm sure all the guys will be able to get the money using the
money that they're going to make out of the investment.
No, using the intermediaries. And what Michael mentioned is very good niche for middlemen, because when you have Bitcoin, it's taken a lot of time to transact. But if you give this Bitcoin to Michael, he will issue you the credit card with the credit on it. So you will use it, the credit, and they will take a piece of this Bitcoin. It will take time, but they trust you because they have your Bitcoin.
Yes.
No trust, they just have your Bitcoin.
They know who you are. There's a correct
they have your Bitcoin,
yes.
so they don't risk. So that's how it's
custodians.
But you risking, not with the Michael.
Yes, it's under a regulated umbrella at the end of the day. But the idea again is that Bitcoin at the moment is actually still the main product used. I mean, how do you see? Do you see the other products being raised to the same level, like Ethereum or Bitcoin?
Yes, sure. I'm sure it's.
How do you guys see them in IQ options as in terms of trading and their value?
It depends. The Bitcoin Cash just blew our P&L this Sunday, right? Because it's risen like 3 times. So it depends. People jump back and forth, you know. But Bitcoin is the strongest in growing. So Ethereum doesn't grow like for half an year. But in the wallets, like in Coinbase, you can store all of them, and you will be able to pay with all of them. I think. What I see in terms of the future, all the banks will have accounts in major cryptocurrencies, it's for sure. Yes.
The question is which cryptocurrency. That is where actually I wanted to lead hopefully towards the finalizing of our discussion, because the banks are very much interested into these means and into the solutions. I mean, talking from the payments side now, shifting it back to payments. Yes, we do have the traditional means of e-wallets and cards, Visa, MasterCard, and all the payment schemes, and alternative payment e-wallets like Skrill, Neteller, and all those things that everybody's using depending on the country. But now we're looking into cryptos. And the question is Bitcoin going to be the solution, or is it going to be something else? Well, to be honest, now the next investment we're doing in the payments industry is back to the basics, back to the wire transfers, back to the T2, back to the fast payment services already implementing into the UK. So the banks and all the payment institutions now with PSD2, because of the API integrations and deeper exchange of KYC, we're looking at a deeper integration between us. So, with all of these problems that have been caused through the payment schemes, whether it's chargeback, fraud, or whatever, we're looking into other solutions in terms of protecting our customers. So we're back to the basics of wire transfers, but making them instant. Now, wire transfers now is still under fiat currency, which can be dollars, GBP, euros, whatever. But the next stage, if this banking system and all of these institutions start working together within the blockchain environment, it means that we can actually have instant transactions of cryptos, whether that's Bitcoin or something else, which apparently, I don't know if you heard, even Deutsche Bank is working with some other major European banks to implement their own crypto. So it might be another cryptocurrency which is done through the banks or something else. But the point is that everybody's moving towards a blockchain for exchanging, whether that's information for fiat money or eventually something which is going to be crypto. And that's what we're working on at the moment for 2018.
All right. So, what are the main aspects of this becoming reality? How do you make it reality?
Well, partially it is already a reality because out of the regulation now, you are allowed to connect, if you have a good enough reputation, you're allowed to connect onto the SEPA network, which the SEPA network is the Single European Payment Association, the network, which authority, which is basically all the banks connected together to exchange the Eurozone currency. Now, we're already connected onto that because we have a license for it through an EMI license, and we do the live conversions of money from bank to bank and from account to account. Normally, this happens same day if you pay for an expedited payment, and if you have Vostro Nostro accounts with banks. So a lot of the companies, including IQ Options, is going to benefit from these solutions because their traders are going to be able to change and exchange or top up money from their bank account directly into the platform of the company that they're using to make the trading, like IQ Options. So this is already implemented. Stage 1 is there. Stage 2 now is, with the PSD2 being enforced in January, we're already talking with most of the banks. And one of the things that you can actually do in the PSD2, let's say you work with HSBC, but I don't have a correspondent account with HSBC. So I'm not on the Vostro Nostro network or HSBC. All you have to do is going to get a letter from me authorizing me to scrape off your information from your net banking, from HSBC, so they have to give me an API integration and they have to give me access to your information on their banking system. So they're going to give me access. They're not allowed to say no unless they state it clearly, because you're being slandered for money laundering as a company, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it means I definitely get your information. You go onto a centralized platform like us and you're able to have all your bank accounts over there and make live transactions at any moment from your HSBC bank account into IQ Options for purchasing and making your trades.
Happened to me the other day with my broker.
I hope you won.
Yeah.
What is your broker?
Oops.
I'm in a sensitive position.
You have to be neutral.
It was IQ Options. It's okay. So yeah. Now, so that is what that is already a step there. 50% done. Now the next stage is all the banks, whether we like it or not, they are looking into blockchain and into Bitcoin. I mean, Dmitriy just said that they're already investing into purchasing cryptos in order to have it into the portfolio for investment purposes. So apparently, the next step is how they're going to control this. And that's why exchangeries are closing very easily and banks are going to start stepping in. At least that is my evaluation towards this. Don't get me wrong, I am a crypto fanatic. I do like cryptocurrencies. I do believe that's the future, and especially blockchain technology. But it will be dominated by the banking institution eventually, whether we like it or not, because that's who holds the money, that's who identifies, that's who protects, and that's what the governments do.
I met a very interesting guy in New York. He's consulting ICOs and so on. And he is like from this crypto community, and he says, yes, banks are controlling everything, but now a lot of people who created new values, like Bitcoin costs $100 billion, now it will cost $1 trillion soon. So there are new people who own money and control money, new money. So maybe it will not be controlled by banks, because let's face it, banks are too slow. You know it more than I do. You know it more than I do. To establish some kind of direct connection with HSBC, come on, 10 years? What is it? So it's not who, it's probably not how is it going to be, you know. Banks are quite slow.
Yes, it's true. Banks do move on a slower pace, but once they decide to get into the industry, they do make a bam. I agree with you. New people, new affluent individuals are coming in with ownership onto this, but they still have a thirst for becoming part of the banking network. I mean, look at Dan and all the guys which actually founded Bitcoin and created this concept. Most of them, if they did not work closely with the banking and the regulatory authorities, they already crashed and burned, and they were the founders of Bitcoin. I do believe you're right. They're slow, but they're getting there. And I think that they're going to stop looking to other things and more into this, because there was a lot of slandering, as I said in the beginning, for Bitcoin and cryptos, which was unnecessary at the end of the day. It doesn't mean that it is used for money laundering or for purchasing bad things. I mean, the Silk Road was the only and the biggest thing that they had to accuse. I don't know, has everybody heard about the Silk Road? Okay, so the Silk Road was the biggest thing that they accused Bitcoin about. And it was actually something that everybody knew at the end of the day. And even banks, I mean, we have banks, huge institutions like the bank that we just mentioned, that they pay trillions of fines and penalties in money laundering and terrorism sponsorship or letting money go through, and nobody goes to jail, and they don't burn the cash in the road. At the end of the day, so it's just that because it's not embraced, it will be embraced, and I think the government's already talking about it. It's just that they need to feel the security behind it, and that's why maybe the Chinese authorities blocked it. I believe it's not because they don't like cryptos. It's because they want to introduce something of their own. I mean, Russia, I think there's also discussion in Russia again about their own cryptocurrency, right? Through the government.
It's rumors, but
all the countries are
in the US.
Sorry?
He lives in the US.
Yeah, but it's definitely...
yeah, I mean, in Manhattan now, it's a different story. Yeah. Yeah, so yes, at the end of the day, I would say that cryptocurrency is the future. I'm not sure if Bitcoin is going to be the one. If Bitcoin is actually taken over, I believe, my evaluation, by the banks, it's going to go even sky high, and it's going to be something really strong. And if the banks act as the intermediaries of exchangeries, it's going to make it a solid solution. If not, let's assume that in 1 year's time for today, let's say the one Bitcoin today is, I don't know, 1,600. How much is it today?
1,600. What day is it today?
Check on the dates.
2016.
So yes, I mean, it's a ridiculous price out there. So at the end of the day, I would say then, if in a year's time a bank comes out with its own cryptocurrency and you're allowed to trade that and get it into your pocket, what do you think people with Bitcoin are going to do? That is my question. And
they will not sell the Bitcoin because the bank, like crypto.
That's not what we agreed backstage. You said you're going to agree with me.
Like a crypto rabble. No one wants this shit, right? Because it will not grow.
It's backed by the government.
It's backed by the government. And not only this, it's not going to rise because it's tightly connected, and Rubble is going to fall. It's not going to rise, right? So and Bitcoin is actually masses, and people want to go it because it's growing, right? Like OTN.
True. Yes. Well, I need
5 times I mentioned.
I
know my time.
I cannot ask anything more about ATN before we just shut down the show. But yeah,
So imagine about the banks and intermediaries. What is OTN, right? You have Ethereum and you have a Bitcoin, right? So you want to change it.
He loves this.
I love this, yes. So we want to change it from Ethereum to Bitcoin. Okay. So we can ever use third-party, intermediary, bank, and all this crypto society and crypto idea is about decentralization. So how to do it decentralized? And we came up with an approach which is covering this actually particular task. Okay. So we can exchange Ethereum to Bitcoin, which are not connected, through a decentralized network, and all the process will be collateralized, will be absolutely secure.
How secure is this network? What network are we talking about?
It's as secure as Ethereum network.
Okay.
So we're using the principles which are used by the major cryptocurrency networks, the blockchains, the proof of stake.
Do you involve exchangeries into this as well?
So it's more of a technology, more of the code which is running on several machines, which is doing this exchange.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time. And
already?
Yeah, it's
yeah, we really like to sit here all day.
Time flies.
So sorry,
like
guys.
Bitcoin.
Look, to be honest, I don't know if we covered the points that you guys are looking into at this discussion. Obviously, we're trying to just push as much information, and we're covering everything on an elementary level as much as possible, just to make this as more holistic as possible. But if you do have any questions that we haven't covered already, just you can shoot it either out now, just raise your hand, or you can come later and see us.
We have time for.
Is there something we haven't covered you want to look at in terms of payments, in terms of solutions, or something that we haven't covered? About Dmitriy's lifestyle in New York, maybe? No. So what do you drive in New York now? Is it a Tesla? Is it necessarily?
It's a Uber place, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys have any questions, I'm sure the gentleman will be free to answer them after this workshop.
A lot of people asking me how to buy OTN, right?
Thank you, Dmitry, for the OTN, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.